Free bird. Call to order this regularly scheduled planning board meeting for Monday, April the 28th, 2025, 7 p.m. With that, I'll move on. I believe we have determination of a quorum. Everybody is present. And I am going to read the conflict of interest statement. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matters on the agenda? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any participation in the matter involved. Conflict?
Nope.
Steve?
Nope.
No conflicts. Moving on to the approval of the minutes for March the 24th, 2025 planning board meeting. Any edits,
Nope.
If I may, Board Member Anderson called me earlier today and changed a number in her comments. 4-lane road would not terminate at a 2-lane road is what I had typed, but it was supposed to be 4-lane road wouldn't terminate at a 4-lane road. So I just changed that in the minutes.
catch?
Right.
Got a motion to
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Unanimous. All right, now to the public comments portion. We're going to let individuals have 3 minutes to speak and must only comment on current agenda items. A maximum of 30 minutes is allocated to the public comment period. The time limit may be extended at the discretion of the chairman. We got a list. Multitasking today. Great job. I don't. So it looks like we have 4 of us ready to speak. We will start with Cammie. Merritt, we're going to, since we are streaming, I ask that you speak in the mic clearly, name, address, firstborn child.
I'm Cammie Merritt. I live at 700 Lock Haven Road, and I'm here with regards to the Beckingham. And what I'm showing you here is this is our dam. Lock Haven is a circle, and it has a pond in the middle. The Beckingham thing is being presented north of that, and none of the stormwater runoff from Beckingham will go into our pond, okay? All of it will go straight into the floodplains that then go into Arrow Plantation. But what I want to show you is February 6, 2020, we overtopped our dam for the very first time ever. And it's a result of the Pulte subdivision that was built higher up on Lock Haven Road. It was their poor management of the floodplain, the stormwater runoff and all that for years and years. And our pond is now full of silt and mud and debris and doesn't hold a whole lot of water before it overtops the dam. So you have another page that shows a rain of only 2 inches and how high it's now coming up on our dam and what it does to our backyard now because it backs up into the yard. So our dam, even though it's not rated, is a source of contention for potentially breaching and adding more water to the Arrow Lake 1 and potentially doing damage to their dams. So by doing the Beckingham and allowing them to not do the 100 water stormwater drainage, you're allowing even more water to go into Arrow's ponds, which could be even more dangerous, especially since our dam is already, in my opinion, dangerous and could breach at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, second on the list is Gary Palmer.
My name's Gary Palmer. I live at 1008 Ship Pond Lane in the Stratford-on-Providence subdivision. And I'm here to talk a little bit about the Beckingham subdivision. One thing I wanted to do is share a little bit about a letter that I sent probably all you guys, about 11 folks from the town. I support low impact development. preservation of trees behind the Ship Pond homes. From the onset, the development plans have included retention ponds, as we saw back at Pulte's previous layout. However, it's encouraging to hear that you guys are, maybe looking at some other alternatives, less destructive approaches, and possibly consider that. Specifically, we're in support of preserving the large mature trees directly behind my home and the home of other folks off of Oxfordshire and Ship Pond Lane. These trees are at risk of being cleared to make way for a large stormwater embankment and retention ponds, a structure whose long-term effectiveness we really are highly skeptical of. The current tree cover provides a valuable visual and sound barrier between our neighborhoods, and that's important because this is moreover, the existing vegetation already serves as a natural stormwater filter within deep-rooted plants, stabilizing soils and absorbing runoff. The removal of this mature canopy would not only disrupt the local ecosystem, but would also eliminate the vital shade, hinder natural reforestation through seedling growth, and eliminate habitat and food sources for wildlife. As highlighted in the silvicultural tree survey that was done, the loss of these primary trees would significantly alter the landscape and its function. Furthermore, the removal of these heritage trees seems inconsistent with the values and goals of town of Weddington regarding green space and environmental preservation. These trees support an ecosystem that includes well-established animal trails, deer bedding areas, and countless other wildlife habitats, especially within the 100-year floodplain. In fact, it is common that we observe probably 2 or 3 dozen deer twice a day going through that floodplain area. Additionally, the proposed retention ponds pose a safety concern for neighborhood children and could become a hazard due to standing water, potential drowning risks, and increased snake and pest activity in unmanaged vegetation. These ponds also require ongoing maintenance, add costs, and often lead to the spread of ticks and chiggers, especially in erosion control grasses like cerisa that's commonly used and required by the state. We have spoken with several neighbors on Ship Pond and who are copied on the letter that I sent, and all of us are on the same page. Thank you for your time and your thoughtful consideration of a more sustainable and lower impact Beckingham development. All right,
Thank you, Gary.
thank you.
Over just a hair, but not. Next on our list is Barbara, and I'm sorry, is it Schick?
Hi, good evening. We are over on 205 Dornock Drive. We're actually behind the new Beechwood development, Weddington Glen. And our biggest concern right now is we're having severe impacts because of what they did. We don't want that to impact other subdivisions. We've noticed the lack of oversight and erosion control has severely affected our property. And so we're really concerned that other properties right now are going to be affected if there's not better oversight, erosion control, sediment, all that kind of stuff. It's just, we've been severely flooded out by what's going on in front of us. And we're just really worried that any new development coming in right now, if the oversight isn't really stepped up, it's going to impact a lot of people.
I just think we're a good example of why the 100-year plan idea isn't really a 100-year plan anymore. And trying to circumvent that just makes no sense at all.
Right, downstream properties are being very heavily impacted by these new developments because there hasn't been enough oversight and there's things being missed. So we're really concerned about that.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Chad.
Good evening, Chad Emerine, 953 Eagle Road, Narrow Plantation. Thank you, board members, for volunteering to serve Weddington. Tonight, I'm speaking on behalf of Arrow Plantation and their HOA board. we have multiple concerns in regards to the Beckingham development on the agenda. First is there's a clear deviation from the original approved plan. That plan showed the 3 stormwater ponds, and it states in the community meeting report that all stormwater runoff would be captured in those ponds. It also stated that all water would be released at the same rate as pre-development. 2, it seems that if a validated conceptual stormwater plan was completed at the time of approval, some of these issues would have been caught and determined, and the plan could have been adjusted prior to approval versus after. This is why we've asked for this to be provided with projects like the Toll Brothers, and it's required in our UDO. Third, in the map and information, it discusses the amount of tree clearing. But looking at these maps, most of that cutting is coming from the areas that were previously approved for the stormwater pond areas. There's also some in the backyards of multiple lots, something that the homeowner would likely remove anyway. Everyone would like to save trees, but these are the areas that we were going to lose anyway due to the approved plan. Trees can be removed, but the volume of stormwater is permanent. Look at how many neighborhoods are talking about stormwater issues in the town right now. Fourth, the big concern of Arrow is that we have 2 large lakes with high hazard dams that are regulated by the state. We don't need to take on any more water, even if it has the lower percent of untreated. Additional volume of water can lead to more costly repairs or failure risk of our dam. The additional volume of water can be significant downstream impacts to Lock Haven, Stratford, and Arrow. All of this water works its way down into 12 Mile Creek. Fifth, the discussion of capping impervious seems impossible to enforce. How can you stop tree cutting, patios, etc. after the fact? 6, the rain collection system seems to be a trivial amount of water. How does this system going to work in the winter? This also means that a large tank in the ground, in addition to the septic tanks, will be reducing space for outdoor living, which homeowners in this price point of homes will definitely want. Based on this and the fact that there is already a 50-foot buffer on the plan that will help surrounding neighborhoods, that we want to ensure that trees are protected, but we ask the board not to recommend this proposal. Instead, we ask the developer to look at other options, including increasing the size of the stormwater pond size, as well as if they need to reduce some lots in order to achieve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. That ends the public comment list. We did receive a few emails from some residents that aren't here to speak. Can we note that they have emailed us in favor of or not in favor of?
It's up to you.
We had a neighbor from Stratford on 1012 Chapon Lane, Christopher Ganelli, who to Gary's sentiment said the same thing. He was in favor of this. We had another neighbor on Chapon 1016 Chapon Lane, Daniel George, who also was in favor. I received an email from 507 Lock Haven from a Joseph, I'm going to butcher this. Yes. I will give you 507 Lock Haven. I'll give you the email. He first sent us an email to the mayor and was in for this. And then after further investigation, he sent us an email saying that he was not in favor because the consequences were going to raise flooding issues on his property. So he did not approve of the what they were requesting as well. So just wanted to make record of those emails did not go unnoticed and were read. So thank you, residents, for the email and the concerns. Yes, now we get to move on to old business. Discussion and possible recommendation of a conditional amendment application from Providence Land Services Incorporated for an amendment to CZ-2023-02 for stormwater requirement changes. I will let Greg take over.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board, and welcome aboard, Chris, as our chairman. I think we're all familiar with this site as it was discussed at our previous meeting, so I'll try to stick to some of the core zoning issues for this property, as well as allowing the applicant time to provide their additional evidence and information, which was requested by this board at our last hearing. This matter was tabled in request of additional stormwater information. So the matter at hand is an amendment to an existing zoning case, conditional zoning case CZ 2023-02, that effectively approved the Beckingham subdivision through the planning board and town council. That was designed as a conventional subdivision, which contained three kind of primary detention and retention ponds on the site, but otherwise was considered low impact development due to the size of the lots and the large amount of wooded open space that would remain both on private property and common open space. Earlier this year, the applicant returned to staff and requested that the development more closely match the low impact development standards of the state of North Carolina. What that means is that they're requesting to remove the 3 ponds and have water flow more naturally into the existing tributaries and streams that exist on the site. However, to do that, to remove those ponds is in violation of our UDO, specifically the section 58-543B1. That's found in Appendix 8 of the UDO and is our stormwater requirements. And what that state is that any major residential development creating more than 20,000 square feet of new impervious area shall control peak stormwater runoff from the 2, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year 24-hour stormwater events to pre-development rates. So again, effectively, this request is to amend an existing subdivision that's already been approved, but to waive that one requirement as found in Appendix 8 of our UDO. When we heard this matter, things about detention or, certain stormwater methods, underground storage, things like that were described. But again, ultimately, this was tabled and requested for more information. Because of that, the applicant has returned with additional information, specifically the downstream analysis of what would be impacted should this new method be implemented, what property owners would be implemented, and then lastly, having our engineer look at those calculations to verify their accuracy and impacts. So staff has requested that our engineer with Labella Associates, Bob Wilson, he is here tonight as well. And so I'd like to waive most of my time to defer the applicant and him to speak on these stormwater methods. But additional information has been provided by the applicant, and it's your opportunity to determine if this additional information and these additional methods or measures that they would be implementing is worth the negotiation to waive one of our UDO requirements. The applicant is requesting to waive a rule. Is he able to provide enough evidence and enough conditions put in place that supersede or improve upon that previous standard? So with that, I'm available for any questions, but I think there's a lot of information still to be presented for you guys' consumption.
Thank you, Greg. This, we can now leave it for Tom and company.
So am I running the porch?
Yes, sir.
How do we go back to the first?
One more.
So the one we sent you.
Click to the right. One more.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen of the planning board and staff and some of the residents that are attending, I'm Tom Waters with Provident Land. This is Kristen Diller with Provident, Weston Bowles with W.K. Dixon. And we want to share with you and talk to you about this alternative method for stormwater protection for this community. So when we brought this to you all almost 2 years ago now, our intention has always been to bring a Weddington quality, large lot, tree friendly, environmentally friendly community to Weddington. So we're very excited that that was approved and away we go. At this point today, we have all of our construction permits done, ready, available, except the stormwater permit that we're here to talk about tonight. When we went to the state some months ago and asked for this permit, the state reviewed our plans, and in great detail, they reviewed our plans and said, hold on here a second. Your impervious cover on your site is only 19%. That's below our 24% standard. You don't need ponds and should not have ponds on your site. We said, well, the town of Weddington has a new UDO ordinance that requires ponds on the site. If that's the case and that's mandatory, then you have to go into the high density category. That's low or high, and the definitions are in the book, et cetera, et cetera. So what does that mean? That means you have to do 3 large storm detention ponds. And let me just qualify that, whether they're 5-year, 10-year, 25, or 100, any little pond storm pushes you into the high density for the state standard. So when you look at that on our site plan, it's extremely destructive. There's over 7 acres of trees that would have to be cleared, mass graded in order to create these ponds. There's over 2/3 of a mile of swales that would be cut into the back and side yards. These swales take out all the trees in the path. And I appreciate Chad's comments, but some folks want to keep the large maturing heritage oak tree in their backyard. Some folks might want to put a swimming pool in their backyard. This is nothing that the homeowner can take away. It will be a permanent utility easement. Where'd Chad go? In the backyard. So if it has a permanent utility easement, stormwater easement in the yard, you can't build in it or on it. And okay, so that's basically it. So we were probably the first community brought through Weddington under your new UDO. Yes, it was 17 months ago. And yes, we've been faced with some design issues that we're trying to work around. So embracing that at the time, coming in as the first one, here we go. So today we're standing here telling you we can't meet the low density standard because of the ponds. We can meet the high density standard, but it would be extremely destructive to the site. And I'll show you more of that in some of these slides. I just wanted to give you a flavor for our community. We're going to have 38 and now 36 lots. I'll talk about that in a minute. This is a private gated community. It's got just a beautiful entrance, all stone, natural stone, and it's going to have gates. There's a park facility. There's a pavilion for community gatherings, an outdoor fire pit. We're going to have about a half mile of passive trails by the creek, like mulch trails. Those will have benches and dog walk stations and things like that. But the intention is for the community to really enjoy Mundy's Run Creek, not have to go around these detention ponds. Okay. So some of the things we're asking for tonight. This allows Beckingham to remain an environmentally friendly, low-density community. I'm calling it an unintentional consequence. When you all put the 100-year storm in place, I'm not so sure that you gave consideration to some of us that want to do high dollar, valuable custom home, environmentally friendly lots and communities. We went to great lengths to specify a panel block septic system. Why? Because that saves half of the clearing for trees where the drain field goes. That's what we did. We're using what's called a bar ditch on the sides of all of our streets, no curb and gutter. That is a friendly way of dissipating some of the stormwater off the streets into natural swales with grass. We'll get into more of this in just a minute. So we did a survey, which I'll show you in a minute. There's 300 large mature hardwoods that we're talking about trying to save, and there's 70 of those are these large heritage trees, which you all have defined recently in your tree ordinance. And I know trees are important to Weddington, and that's kind of what we want to try to save. It avoids, the low density avoids 7 acres of mass grading, environmentally friendly, and we're going to use level spreaders. I don't know, I believe Mr. Wilson knows what a level spreader is, and certainly we do, but A level spreader takes the water from the ditch on the side of the road and allows it to naturally dissipate down into the floodplain area. The advantage we have at Beckingham, which a lot of communities don't have, we have a tremendous amount of natural floodplain down there. Yes, it's heavily treed. Yes, it's beautiful. You heard Mr. Palmer talk about that. We want to let this level spreader, which is about, what are they, 50 or 30 feet wide? They're so wide, when the water comes off the ditch into the level spreader, stormwater, it allows it to spread out and then naturally flow into these leaf, grass, tree areas with the roots that are deep. And then it'll finally make its way down to Mundy's Run. Okay, so we did a flood study. You all asked us to do that. So we went down and spent really exhaustive time analyzing every stream bank along Mundy's Creek, all the way down the zone where the two streams converge. We did aerial topography, site topography, and we ran it through a flood study model. That basically takes all the water that's on the site right now in a pre-development condition, and then they analyze it post-development. That means after we do our saving of the trees and things. And the results were that there was not a little, but no impact to the Mundy's Run tributary that goes down there. Oh, okay. Now that we do have another smaller tributary up in the front. Okay, Mundy's Run has a real wide floodplain, a real wide body, no impact to the flood system there. Our water is not affecting it. This one up in the front is a little bit of a V type of a channel. So you can just imagine if it's a V versus a flat plane, it's going to lift the water a little bit more. And yes, when the water goes down to the culvert crossing down there at Hidden Plain, it comes up about 1.9 feet in the 100-year storm. Okay, so there's a 30-inch pipe there at the culvert crossing that would then allow the water to dissipate on down. If you've ever gone there in a storm event when it's really, really raining, you'll see water kind of slow down right there at that pipe. There's a 7-foot, and we looked at it, some folks measured it with me, but it's about a 7-foot vertical up to the road. So this 1.9 feet kind of comes up toward the road a little bit, but there's still 7 feet above that. So this serves as a detention facility of sorts. It brings the water down there, and yes, that 1.9 foot of water will kind of hold there, dissipate slowly into the 30-inch pipe, and then join the rest. It's kind of an unintended yet working detention facility of sorts. Okay, let's see, that's that, and then reduces the on-site grading significantly. Okay, because we care about the community and we care about our future customers, we're committing to several other things here. We're using or want to put a rain harvesting system on every home. We did not use that in our stormwater calculation. That's a plus, a bonus, if you will. And it serves as the irrigation system for the homeowner. So when our homeowners buy their home, they'll have one of these, which is really their yard irrigation system. And there's ways during the winter cycle, or somebody commented on this, you can turn it to certain zones. Maybe it'll go to one of your, if we have trees left, maybe it'll go to one of your forested areas or something like that. It also has a level spreader, a mini level spreader overflow device. So that'll capture that. We're committing by law, legally, to never exceed 19% impervious. The state standard for low density is 24, but we're saying we'll never get above 19% is one of our commitments. We're using, and I'll show you pictures in a minute, we're using double silt fence, high hazard silt fence on the downhill portions of the grading and of the street development. No curb and gutter. So it allows the streets, all the water that hits the streets to dissipate into these grass swales. We're using riprap and flock logs that would basically come across these bar ditches during construction to help with erosion control. And I'll show you what those look like here in just a minute. Interim seating, of course. We're using the panel block system, which I talked about. we're site placing, we want to site place all of our homes so it takes advantage of the topography and the natural trees that are on the lots and preserve them. That's our whole objective here. We have a septic tank system which only clears about half of what the conventional system would clear. So those things, and the builders will use tall crawl spaces. They're not developing pads. I believe one of the previous developments down Lock Haven that you referenced earlier, they mass graded the site and created building pads for every home. Well, that's a lot of dirt disturbed. And certainly when you have rain events, there's going to be an impact. We're not doing that. Our builders will use tall crawl space, walkout basements, things that are friendly to the topography and friendly to the trees. Okay. Now, as part of our redesign, which we just kind of finished in the last few weeks, we're eliminating 2 lots. We're taking 2 lots where they were a little more tight to the floodplain, if you will, and making 1 lot there. I don't have anything to show you tonight, but that's what we're doing. And then we're also taking 2 other lots and combining it over on the creek on the other side. So our site's going to go, as part of our redesign, from 38 down to 36. We also shortened all the cul-de-sacs. Every cul-de-sac out there has been shortened some. Some we were able to do 12 feet or so, and some were just a few feet. But 2 of them, I believe, were 10, 12 feet or some amount close to that. That helps with the end of street condition. Okay. And then we're committing, somebody mentioned about the importance of maintaining and inspecting your erosion control measures. And that person is absolutely correct. Unless someone is monitoring these erosion things, when you have a major storm event, it'll quite often do damage to your silt fence or who knows. We hire a third-party inspector. They come out whenever there's a storm event, and then they come out on a regular basis to inspect every part of the silt fence, of any erosion detention facilities, these level spreaders, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. They come out and inspect that. They write up a report and send it to us. We also send it to Labella and to the town. So you're seeing exactly what's going on with erosion control for us. And there's some things sometimes you have to do. They come back out, and did you do them? So it's a great way to do it, and you all are involved in that. This slide shows the 7 acres and the swales in the backyards. And I know y'all live in beautiful homes in Weddington, and that's fabulous. But if you came to this site, if we had to clear it like this, you're going to pick a lot. And then, like I said earlier, there's some trees in your backyard that will have to be gone. And you can't put a pool. There's a septic tank facility behind the red line toward the back. So here's your beautiful home. Here's your patio. No, you can't keep those trees. And I'm sorry, there's a utility swale across your backyard, and I'm sorry, you can't build a pool. So these are going to be very nice homes. We want them to be very nice homes, but that's certainly a limitation on folks. Okay, tree loss, and that shows the 7 acres and the swales. And then, as we said, there's large trees being lost. We did a tree survey. We went out there and physically flagged every tree that was 8 inches or greater. Your heritage tree definition is 20 inches. So we defined all those, and I actually have the species. I'm not going to show you, but there's over 314 trees that would be lost, and 70 of those guys are heritage trees. Now, these are actual pictures of the big heritage trees. They're quite beautiful. They're hardwoods. There's a beech tree. There's some twin large oaks. They're fabulous. And I believe a lot of you have been out on the site and seen some of these and want to encourage anybody else to come see it. So these are in the pond that would be cleared, one of the ponds. These examples are in all 3 pond areas. So there's 70 of those. Okay, this is what we want to do. This is what we felt like Weddington wanted to have, a quality, environmentally friendly community, large lots, great trees, beautiful homes, beautiful gated entrance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The state of North Carolina will not allow us to do this if there's a pond on there. If we have to put a pond in, we have to be high density, and then that's what I showed you earlier is the result. That's what we have to do. Okay. Okay, this is that upper tributary. It's hard to see this picture. You can see the Beckingham site there, the lot's on the left. But this is the tributary right below our site that we were talking about, where that 30-inch culvert crossing is a Hidden Haven Trail there. Okay, as our friend commented, none of this water goes to the lake that she was talking about. All of this water goes down and converges with Mundy's Run and goes into Arrow Plantation Lake area. This is the 1.9 feet of water. It's a line on there that's blue. There's a line on there that's basically the pre-development condition of water. The blue one is this 1.9 feet I'm talking about. All of this water is well within the 50-foot Weddington stream buffer requirement. In other words, you can't ever build anything in there. You can't do anything to it. So this little bit of water we're talking about is expanded into the buffer, but it does not absorb it. Okay. Just to be sure you understand, but the picture on the top left is what's called a level spreader. It basically receives the water not by a pipe, but by a swale coming from our valley ditches on the roads. And it goes down into that dissipation layer. And then that is parallel to the side of the floodplain. So in a heavy storm event, a lot of storm water comes down, flows down that like channel on that riprap grass area, goes into the gravel area and dissipates into the natural vegetation of the floodplain. That's why they're so handy. That's what they're for. And we're doing at least 4 of those on the site in terms of the areas where the water would come off. Then everybody knows what a double high hazard silt fence is there. It's supported with hog wire, so it's structurally sound, and it's put in with stone and a very effective silt fence program. And then a flock log. It's like a big roll of carpeting burlap that the water filters through. And we use those during the construction cycle. So when you have, we try to stabilize the dirt within 7 days of disturbance. So we're out there disturbing it. Within 7 days, we're going to come out there and blow hydromulch or grass and seed. We also use that large grass matting, straw matting that goes down. Of course, the intention is once you move the dirt a little bit, let's stabilize it. The flock logs help us during that process until the seed germinates. And then this is the rainwater harvesting system. And again, we're not counting on that. This is a perk, a plus. It's great for the customer. Folks that are environmentally green building type of folks will love this. And yes, it's my irrigation system too. So I'm saving rainwater, recycling it, irrigation. And it also does something for stormwater, but we didn't count it in our measurements. Okay, this is an actual aerial drone picture of a couple of the acres of our 7 that would be lost and cleared. It's hard to totally decide it or to show you, but say it fills up almost 70, maybe 85% of that slide. All those trees would be lost. In place of it with Storm Pond. I'll show that here in a second. This is another area that all the trees would be lost. This one down closer to Mr. Palmer's backyard back in there. All those would be lost. And there's a third area where they're also would be lost. This doesn't show you all the trees that are in those swales, that 3/4 of a mile long of swales we have to cut in. Oop. Okay. This is what we're being asked to do to put in a pond there. This is grading several acres. That's not even 2 acres there. You have to come in and you basically mass grade all the trees away. All the dirt is disturbed. And then on our situation, because of the topo, we're going to build a 34-foot tall dam on the creek slope that'll go down to the slope of the floodplain. So from the folks in the back view that live behind us, and there's a bunch of homes there behind us, their view will be this dirt slope. We all know how this goes. It takes months to grade this out and to try to get it stabilized. Here's a site that hadn't been stabilized. And there'll be times when you have these major storm events during the construction cycle, and you won't get just turbidity in Arrow Plantation. You'll get chunks, massive chunks of sediment beyond our control. It's going to jump the system until you get things stabilized. And the other thing that I want to point out while I'm talking about this, when you have a 100-year storm detention, we have 3 of them. There's a single point discharge 36-inch pipe that lets the water come out of that pond and straight shot discharge down to Mundy's Run Creek. Yes, it'll have some riprap down there and it'll splash on that. It's not a level spreader. It's a point discharge. When those ponds get full in a major event, they fill up, that water's got to go somewhere. There's one 36-inch pipe that shoots that water down there. Of course, any developer is going to do the best that they can to try to maintain issues and control during storm events. We'll do that too. But the point is, that's a single point discharge. Once it gets past that riprap, it turns into a surface stream, and it will do its job in terms of erosion heading down to the bank of the creek, and all that'll end up down in the plantation. Okay. So what we're talking about doing in our system is being sensitive to this 62-acre beautiful property. Yes, it's on that creek. Yes, it has gorgeous trees. Let us build a community there that we can all be proud of, that everyone would love to call home. Why? Because it's sensitive to the environment. It's sensitive to the trees. Are you taking anything away from the stormwater thing? No. We've proven that there's no impacts downstream based on the after flood numbers. Are we going to put the water into the floodplain with these level spreaders friendly? Yes. All that will be done. These level spreaders will introduce it. It'll flow naturally. Once the community is finished, the streets are done, the swales are established, the level spreaders are in, it's all functioning, you'll be very proud that that's a Weddington community. So that's basically it. And certainly I'm open for any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I think before we deliberate, to be honest, I think we need to hear from Labella as well, before we can even think we have questions. And Bob, I'll let you state your name. I do appreciate you showing up tonight on behalf of Weddington.
Okay.
I'll let you roll.
My name is Bob Wilson. I'm with Labella Associates. And I'm a senior engineer there, and I reviewed the downstream impact analysis, and I want to go back to a particular slide. This one right here. What we looked at is we reviewed the analysis submitted by the developer, by their engineer, and they basically did a hydrologic model where they looked at the pre-developed drainage areas and then did a post-developed view of that. And we found in looking at their model, as we mentioned, Mundy's Run Tributary 2, which is Tributary 2, did not have much impact at all. And the reason is because the site is such a small percentage of the overall drainage area. I think the contribution from the site was probably about 10% of the overall drainage area. What's shown on the map here is Tributary 1, and this will eventually have a confluence with Tributary 2, which is Mundy's Run. This has a much more significant impact. And it's because the site is approximately around 30% or so of the overall watershed. What we found was in looking at the watershed model is that for this tributary, right where it leaves the property, which would be kind of where you see the dark heavy line there, and then it flows roughly to the southeast, you would have increases in the discharge for the 10-year storm of around 30%, the 25-year storm of around 23%, and the 100-year storm of around 17%. Now, once it goes down, and as Mr. Waters was saying, once it gets to the Hidden Haven Trail culvert, there's a 30-inch pipe there. It raised the water surface elevation from pre-developed condition to post-developed condition, approximately 1.99 feet in the 100-year storm. Okay. It does not appear that would overtop the road. No houses are impacted. The topography of this is fairly rugged. There's a lot of elevation change across the lot, so it's really kind of a ravine. So there are some concerns with the 30-inch pipe as far as the inlet is completely blocked right now with forest litter, other debris, maybe even some logs. Maybe somebody had a wood pile near the creek that some of it washed down. So that's a concern. The other concern that we think should probably be done, and generally, I mean, if you want to do something where you don't do detention, you should always do a downstream impact analysis to assess that. This is not that bad of a site to do that for. It kind of works pretty well because you have Mundy's Run, tributary 2, which is a significant FEMA-regulated floodway. Well, not floodway, but FEMA-regulated stream. And it doesn't show much impact there. I mean, the changes in water surface elevation are insignificant. They really are. There are little or no changes. But there is an impact on this smaller tributary. And so we think as a minimum that we would recommend for approving this, or if you approve it, you make these conditions, we would recommend that the property owners be notified in writing outlining what would be the increase in water surface elevation on their properties and what would be the increase in flood. And there is precedent for doing the increase in water surface elevation, because if you were to do a letter of map revision to a FEMA floodplain, FEMA will require you to notify all affected property owners of how they're being impacted. And then they would have an opportunity to comment. Not that would change anything, but they're at least notified, have that opportunity to comment. So that's what we found. Now I'll answer any questions you have related to that.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
I got a question. The culvert under the road,
Yes, sir.
who would be responsible to keep that clear? Is it DOT?
It doesn't seem to be, it's not on the DOT maintenance system from just checking it. So it'd be, the folks that live out there.
All right, and then Tom, this is not on your property.
No.
I'd like to piggyback that. Is that 30-inch undersized?
It's marginal. I mean, it's probably, it wouldn't meet with the increased flows. It would not meet the strict, code requirement. It does not overtop the road. There's plenty of freeboard, but I would say it's marginal
That's after it's cleaned out.
after it's cleaned out.
The calculations, are they based strictly on water volume, or is velocity factored into that? Because there is there's a 50-foot delta from the top of that to the stream.
They're both. I mean, the HECRAS model they submitted for the hydraulic calculations, we did look at a comparison. It's included in the spreadsheet that was attached to the email of the pre and post development velocities. They were not that significant. The ones where the most significant change they're relatively low velocities anyway. They were non-erosive. Looking out there at the stream at tributary 1, I did not walk all the tributary 2. But looking at it, it's kind of spot erosion here and there. Obviously, there's more erosion around bends, but it's in a forest. It's not maintained. You can expect to see over time erosion will continue. But streams have a way of, once the inputs change as far as development changes, they find a way to tend to stabilize themselves over time just by eroding and sloughing and becoming what they want to be, through whether it be sediment removal or sediment deposition, but especially in a forest.
I forgot to note, I had one more email. I would like from a home from, I'm going to give you the parcel number, 0615346. I think it is Lauren and Adam. Yes. They sent an email. They're where the waters are going to converge and take off, and they were opposed to this approval or recommendation on our behalf from them. Just wanted to note that as well. That email came late.
I think was that like 210 Hidden Haven Road?
Could be.
Yeah. I just
They
have
own 2 or 3 parcels.
Okay, yeah. A couple questions. Now, when did you get the data to start your analysis?
Probably about maybe a week and a half ago.
Okay, good. I appreciate that. and you've already said this, tributary 2, which is the right side, which is also pretty broad floodplain. I won't say it's a non-issue, but it's almost a non-issue. But tributary 1, and that's because instead of a broad plain, it's more of a ditch.
It's
So-
really, the reason the impacts are greater is just because the site development is a larger percentage of the overall watershed. So going from undeveloped to a developed site has more of an impact on it.
The way it's set up now, it looks like it basically, I'm a non-engineer, so these are all non-technical
How you doing? Great so far.
terminology. All right, where it backs up at the culvert on Hidden Haven Drive.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming as it's flowing through there, it's going to flow through there at a higher velocity.
Potentially. I mean, it really, it's kind of limited. I mean, once the pipe's flowing full, that velocity doesn't change. And as much as it's stacking up, both in the pre-developed and the post-developed for the 100-year storm,
Yep.
that pipe's going to be flowing full. And so a pipe cannot, even though it could flow longer with a higher stage, that outlet velocity is not going to change from a full flow.
Pre and post?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because it's already flowing full. Now, if it were flowing, partially full,
Yep.
maybe.
Okay. I have a couple questions for Mr. Waters. And that is, I know when this first came through, it had, first of all, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the 100-year storm ordinance is new.
Say that again?
The 100 ordinance, is that new?
It was changed recently.
Mm-hmm. With this past council.
Yeah, so the most recent clarification was making sure that all references to that 100 year or that number 100 in code applied to both residential and non-residential or commercial developments. When I first started, the only change that was made is that the reference to 100 year was applying to residential and not commercial, and we made it consistent. So it applied
Commercial
to
is
everything.
like 10 years or something.
Correct.
So in terms of a 100-year stormwater plan for residential, that's been there quite a while. I don't
Since
know
my
how-
tenure, yes.
Yeah. So that's been there a while. And so I noticed when you submitted your plan the first time, under the 100-year stormwater, you had the 3 large detention ponds. And my question is, I got a couple questions. As you got down to actually developing your stormwater plan, did the size of your detention ponds that were going to be required increase, decrease, or match your original plan?
I think they increased a little with the new one. What question do you want?
If there was any, so Weston Bowles, WK Dixon engineer on the project, if there was any increase, it was minimal. So, I mean, what was shown on the original rezoning plan and what was designed was about the same.
Okay, so the detention ponds hadn't changed much. There was always going to be a lot of trees taken down. I mean, I don't like the idea of trees taken down, but I'm balancing this stormwater and tree save.
Correct.
And I'm going to lean towards stormwater reduction. And when you, I think, Tom, you said when you went to the state, I guess that's DEQ, then they pointed out to you, said, hey, you don't have to do these large ponds because of your low percentage of BUA and it's like, oh, a light bulb went on saying, hey, this is great, or kind of add some color to that.
So they did say, you okay? Okay. They did say that, but the issue came with not their determination of it being, I guess, taking away the ponds. They basically told us, if you keep the ponds, if the town tells you you have to keep the ponds, then you have to treat every square foot of impervious area on your site. And when you do that, we've all seen how the topography is on this project. You basically are going to have to grade the site even more to make sure that everything drains to these ponds. So you're going to have, besides having a house sit down in the natural terrain, like Tom was talking about with high crawls and everything, we're going to have to bring that house up, and we're going to have to put ditches around the house to get everything to flow back to a detention pond that might be 5 or 6 lots away, besides naturally dissipating into the buffer. So their determination wasn't that, why are you having the ponds? They're basically say, if you're going to put the ponds here, you're treating every square foot of impervious area, meaning that ultimately we would probably even have to do more destruction to the site than.
So whether it's LID without ponds or HID, high density with ponds, under either scenario, you cannot have any increase of stormwater runoff going off the property post-development than pre-development. Am I correct on that?
For the state's standards?
For the state standard, well, okay, let's take the state standard and then we'll take the town standard. Pretty sure the town standard says pre and post-development, you can't have any increase in stormwater runoff.
Correct.
Okay, so state standard says,
State standard says, and Bob, feel free to truth me on this. State standard says if you do low impact, you don't even have to do the downstream analysis that we did. If you do less than 24% impervious, then all you have to do is keep it less than 24% impervious, and your project is.
and then how do you factor in the, I'll call it the storm level or intensity? I'm a layman here. I spent a lot of time Googling DEQ, this and that, and they reference low intensity development, but they also tend to reference 10-year, I'll say a 10-year plan. Is that what that incorporates versus the town's 10, 25, 50, and 100-year plan?
So if you go, I guess let me go to the next part. If you do high density under the states, above 24%, you have to have ponds. What they're going to tell you is you have to do the 1-year storm. You have to treat, I guess it's the 1 inch in 1 year storm, if I remember it correctly, for water quality. So the state doesn't.
Quality versus or quantity?
Quality. State only is worried about quality. Y'all's ordinance is worried about quantity.
So I don't want to be snarky here,
No,
but so if I'm downstream and I have 2 feet of water coming across my property, I can say, great, it's good quality water, but it's still 2 feet of water coming across my property. I mean, be a little humorous there, but isn't that basically the
state, how
concept?
the state permits things, correct?
Okay. And Tom, I notice you combined a couple lots, reduced your lots from 38 to 36, which allowed you to shorten your cul-de-sacs, which I'm assuming had the impact of reducing impermeable surfaces, which I'm guess helped you as you're trying to get the low impact development.
So everything we modeled was based off the 38 lot. So we hadn't taken in any reduction in impervious area or anything like that. So what you're seeing from a floodplain model to an impervious area limit, that's all based off of the 38. In theory, reducing the cul-de-sacs and reducing the light.
Because the question I had, or where I was trying to get to, is to remedy the 2 foot. Well, I have another question. This is really maybe off the mark, but as I look at the chart that Mr. Wilson did, it shows for a 10-year storm a 30% increase, 25-year storm a 24% increase, and a 100-year storm a 17% increase. In my simple little mind, I would thought that would be just the opposite, because the intensity of a 100-year storm or the frequency versus a 10-year. I mean, it's kind of a side issue, but it's more.
The reason the percentage increases are less is because the flow rate is much higher for 100-year storm. So you take you take the post-development minus the pre-development, divided by the pre-development, that shows you the percent increase. So if you look at that chart, for example, like for the 10-year storm, your pre-developed flow was 26.4,
Right.
whereas your 100-year storm
30.
was 59.5. So
Yeah.
you have a denominator is larger, for larger
Okay.
storms. I did want to address a couple things that were
Sure,
said
go
earlier,
ahead.
if I could. One is what your detention does is it reduces the peak flow. It does not reduce the runoff volume. The runoff volume is increased, even though it's stored and metered out by the outlet of detention. You still have more runoff volume whether you have detention or not. But it's the peak flow that is reduced.
So when you make that calculation, so, and I'm not an engineer, so I mean, just help me out here.
You guys are doing great.
What you're saying is about the impact is you're taking into account the impervious that's going to be there post-development. Is that how you're figuring this calculation?
What Weston has done, and they did the analysis and we reviewed it. And you correct me if I say anything wrong, but they're looking at the NRCS or the Natural Resources Conservation Service curve number. The curve number is a function of the soil type and the land use.
Does this include the spreaders that they want to install?
No.
It doesn't.
That's considered.
That's not part of it. I have one question, I guess, for both of you. What would be a solution to eliminate the 2-foot overflow?
You either reduce the flow inputs coming to it through detention, or you could replace the culvert.
Okay, how do you reduce the flow inputs
You'd
coming
have to
in?
have detention.
Pardon?
You'd have to have stormwater detention.
That's the only way you can do it. I mean, I know Mr. Waters wouldn't want to do this,
know.
but if you reduce the lot
That's
or
true.
something.
I don't know that you could
Does
make
that-
it up enough because,
Okay.
like I said, that you have for tributary 1, there's a much larger percentage of the contributing area is the on-site development.
So, but that could be modeled. It might come up with a solution that just isn't viable or you wouldn't want to do. But could that be modeled to say, okay, here's what we'd have to do to take care of that 2-foot water, which is primarily from tributary 1. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
I'm just looking for a solution. Then the other solution that you talked about was, well, both of you talked about increasing the 30-inch culvert that goes under Hidden Haven Road. I've driven out there. It's a gravel road. It's a,
It just got paid.
pardon?
It's paid. Darn it.
Oh, it's paid now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know when you turn off, it goes down, then you hit the culvert, then it comes up, cul-de-sac, some homes up in there. So the other solution, and I don't know whether this just eliminates the 2-foot or does it create another problem if you've got a bigger culvert to where that flows through without that buildup. Again, I'm a business guy. Our
think-
engineering school when I was in college was called pre-business.
Yeah, I think the only thing downstream is like a 12-inch pipe. It's like a little footpath or something, which that thing is just over top constantly now, I'm sure.
But correcting the pipe would not adversely affect even further downstream.
So the way the flows are analyzed, it doesn't, we're not actually calculating detention or the whole back of the pipe. We just calculated the whole flow downstream of that. So it's already been analyzed as the culvert wasn't impeding it.
So no matter what, we still got the.
Yeah, the main creek and the creek that is going downstream is what Bob has basically said has no
Right,
significant
that's adding a
impact.
cup of water to an aquarium.
Correct.
You don't see the rise.
Right.
But on this little tributary, there's the pipe has no, correcting that pipe is not really a good mitigating source to alleviate that 1.99 feet of rise that puddles on someone's property.
Correct. I don't know all this things.
Why wouldn't it? I mean, the only thing I know about, well, all of the civil engineering stuff is I'm at the bottom of the hill and I get everybody's water from Weddington. And it's volume versus velocity is what you're trying to control. So it seems to me that if you have the de facto little retention pond there at that road, because the pipe is clogged up and small, if you increase the size of that, it's not going to back up on that property. So why does increasing the size of the pipe not help? Do you understand my question? Because not as much water is going to back up. You're not going to have that 2-foot rise.
I think the point he was making is in the analysis they did, they assumed all the water was getting there irregardless of the pipe being there. In other
Yeah,
words,
the
they
water's
didn't-
going to come down, but how is it
So it would
dissipated?
improve the upstream. So
Yeah.
if we would redo the analysis of a larger pipe, it would improve the upstream. Talk to this right here.
So you did the analysis based on the 30-inch pipe?
No, they did their analysis based on no pipe.
Yeah.
No impediment.
Oh.
So when we analyze, so this is Monday's run here.
Mhm.
We analyzed this tributary here. We did not analyze it as there was the tension or the pipe holding back. So all this has been analyzed like this, like there was no road there and it, all the water got there like it's supposed to. Now, here is the Hidden Haven Road. So the real impact is about 200 foot back from the Hidden Haven. After that, once you get back to this house right here, it goes back, it's insignificant. They're the exact same thing. So the only thing that's holding, that is changing is right here at the culvert. It's that 200 foot right at the culvert. So it's not like a massed area. And then what Tom referenced earlier in this presentation, what we imposed was the ordinance's 50-foot stream buffer. And that 50-foot stream buffer, basically, you can see here's a black line, here's a black line. That's the stream buffer that you can't develop in per the ordinance. The floodplain lines are within that. So they, in theory, if the mode developed based on the UDO, you would be able to impact that area.
So what are these level spreaders you want to install? What are they doing for you?
Yeah, so the level spreader, the real benefit of that is it's turning the water more into a natural flow.
Quality benefit?
There is some quality. It does. It's not to the level of the pond, but it is a quality. What they're trying to do is spread the water out so it's non-erosive, in a more of a non-erosive state, and then can go across filtering across the natural land to clean the water and also dissipate it.
So you're not funneling it through, you're funneling it through a 50-foot spreader instead of a 10-foot spreader.
Yeah, you're not outletting it straight at
Right.
one ditch. You're trying to spread the water back out to a more natural state.
When are the level spreaders going to be put in?
They will be installed as soon as the site is stable, the roadways are stabilized.
What about the specs? Can you provide the specifications for these level spreaders?
Yeah, right now what we're modeling them as is 30-foot long. So if we go back
The
and
concrete with footer?
so the spreader itself will have a concrete. Do you remember which way it is, Tom? Yeah, there we go. Hey.
Okay.
So this is it right here. This right there, that what you see there is actually a concrete. It'll be basically look like a T upside down, have a footer, and that will all be installed on a level plane. And that way, water will build up in this ditch behind it, and then naturally flow over.
So will it be built per the Charlotte Mecklenburg manual or the DEQ manual?
DEQ is what we've been modeling off of. Yes, sir.
Temporary erosion control, and Tom mentioned a while ago about the big chunks of stuff going on. Your temporary erosion control plan take care of that? You know, the swift force coming out of this project, regardless, going to be a.
We will meet all the cities or towns.
And the only reason I bring that up, Tom, and I realize you're trying to sell an idea here, but that's really a non-issue either way that this project is voted on. That is a non-issue.
What is a non-issue?
You talked about during the course of construction of a pond, that all this chunks of mud would be traveling downstream.
Oh,
yeah.
That is a non-issue either way.
Yeah, I think we will meet all the city's requirements for erosion control. And I think Tom, what he was trying to press upon is if we're disturbing more, there'll be more land to have to erosion control.
At the end of the day, your erosion control, your temporary erosion control plan is to accommodate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And to mitigate that.
Yeah, we will meet all standards either way the project goes.
Have you reached out to the owners at 537 and the adjoining parcel there at Lock Haven and Hidden Haven Trail
The ones that we're talking about,
that are affected by this on their property?
not recently. I have during the process we were doing our survey work.
So I think I'm going to lean on Bob for that for sure, that we would want the homeowners notified. Because again, we're back to this tree and a neighbor. I don't think we can make it without the resident knowing that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I can see that. That's true.
Yeah.
I've, as my friends on the planning board know, I have problems with 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. So I print out everything big, and you see I color it and everything else. And this is the air. This is the 2 feet of water, which I'm kind of like Nancy. I can't figure out if you stop that blockage, would that
Yeah, why does it back up?
eliminate that? But my real question is, I really struggle, and maybe it's just me. I mean, I've sat through a lot of meetings where people get very upset over stormwater and erosion control. And I think I'm pretty safe to say 90% of the developments in Weddington, in one way or another, have a stormwater or sediment control issue. Sometimes it just can't be helped. It's the timing when you start your grading and the rain comes for 2 weeks and this and that. But
That's on erosion control.
yeah, well, but it's I will say a hot button it creates a lot of heartburn for residents. And, I'm, like I said, I'd love to save the trees, but at the end of the day, I'd like to find a good solid solution, even though it's 2 feet. You have some creative engineers or someone that can say, yeah, there's a way we can get around that, and here's how.
Understood.
I guess that's the challenge I'm throwing out.
Yeah. And some of, like, I want to I totally respect that, and we'll take a look at it. But some of what Bob said there about the volume, like overall, when you do a development, the volume post-development, if you put ponds in it or if you don't, is the same amount of water is going to go downstream. So we're not reducing the volume of water by putting ponds in. We're just reducing, we're affecting the rate at which they leave the site.
Velocity.
So
Right.
all that water, there's going to be more water. Anybody that develops any type of development out there, you're going to send more water downstream.
You're just going to reduce the duration. You're simply going to reduce the duration of that water going downstream. It's going to be released at the same rate. So
Correct.
It's just the duration.
Correct. And actually, this is kind of some of what's happened with the model. The model, the water is actually hitting at different times in the pre and post, because when you put ditches in there and things like that, the water actually gets to the streams at a faster rate. And it's actually, if you look at it, it actually hits off some of the timing. And actually that's why you don't see a lot of increases, is because they're not hitting at the same time. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. It's all about the time of concentration of when the water's
I have a
getting there.
question. Again, not a civil engineer.
Yeah, I understand.
It seems to me that by creating these ponds, you're actually creating more water, because none of it's, if it were left in natural vegetation, it would soak into the ground. Well, some of it would. Some of it would run off, of course. But it seems like by having these ponds, I have 4 ponds on my property, so it seems like you're.
In actuality, if you talk about volume, the volume of water from a treed area versus a lawn area or a pond area, there is more water by the lawn and pond going to leave volume wise than if you leave it as treed.
Yep.
Chris.
I have observed that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the more trees you take down, the volume is going to go up.
Yes.
Quick question. So back to the 2-foot rise, if your calculations were based on that 30-inch culvert not being there, are you saying that 2-foot rise is regardless of that culvert?
So,
Because I think that's what some people have the question.
Maybe I misstated how that is. So when you go to Monday's run, which is the creek down below, if the 30-inch culvert there, the 2-foot rise wouldn't be there. If the 30-inch pipe was not there, the 2-foot rise would not be there.
Okay. So
Downstream, we did not model it as that pipe was running, so that we made sure that it's the
so
best
the
condition.
calculations are based on that pipe, but the map was based with the pipe.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
We're trying to take the worst case scenario on all this.
So how is it going to be maintained when you leave?
How is what going to be maintained?
The potential level spreaders?
Our homeowners association will be involved with the regular maintenance of that.
That'd be the same as if it was a retention pond.
Yeah.
The HOA or the residents are responsible.
What kind of, and I'm not an expert, believe me, on these UDOs. Greg, maybe you can help on this. Is there any kind of financial bond for stormwater plan, an escrow account that the builder has got to provide to the HOA potentially for maintenance on these stormwater control measures?
Thanks for letting me back in. Yes, so that's a significant part of what is bonded for a project is your road infrastructure and your stormwater infrastructure. You know, the road infrastructure is implemented by the developer. If done correctly, the bond is released and it becomes under the ownership and maintenance of usually the state. In the case of stormwater, the bond is to make sure that those devices are implemented and inspected and cleared safely, and then they're turned over to the homeowners association. So the bond money or these monies that are put up front by the developer, they're essentially holds by the town to say, we're not giving you your money back until these are implemented and tested and proven that they're working as intended.
But there's also, Rusty and Chris and I, we'd started some work on stormwater and erosion. And under stormwater, there is a section in there, but it was geared, at least my thinking was detention ponds, but I think it says stormwater facilities. Thank you. And the way that's written right now is a sinking fund is created, kind of a savings account, so to speak, where the developer would front 15% up front. I'd call that seed money.
Yeah.
And then as their homes are being sold, I'm assuming the rest of that funding would come from the HOA fees, where a portion of that fee goes in that. So at the end of 5 years, that fund is supposed to be, I want to say 60% funded. 85, yeah. And then at the end of 10 years, it's supposed to be fully funded. And that's a fund that then, all right, HOA,
Helps them maintain.
you got to maintain this, and this is the fund that's been there. Like my neighborhood, a private gated neighborhood, we're responsible for the roads. So we have a fund that we're building, a sinking fund, so to speak, savings account to address that. That's part of the stormwater ordinance.
The problem is that where the stormwater is collecting is not on their property. So who's going to help the property owner that may,
Yeah,
damage is going to occur off their
this just addresses what's on,
The level spreaders.
that kind of stuff. And the 15%, I call it seed money, is 15% of the cost of putting in those facilities. To Nancy's point, where you're off the property, and I'll call it Hidden Haven Road,
lane.
that lane, that's a whole nother issue. Lane trail, Hidden Haven.
Hidden Haven.
So that's an area that, in my opinion, needs to be looked at and addressed.
Can I comment on that?
Certainly.
Okay, so what I was going to propose, and I've talked to Weston about this, we're going to have 12-month a year maintenance out there on the site in terms of our community. And with permission from the gentleman that owns that lot where we're talking, we would agree to regularly maintain the logs. You went out and saw them today, and there's leaves and some log debris. We would be maintaining that perpetually as part of the HOA document to be sure that this area pipe, 30-inch pipe is left open and clear. We would put that in as a commitment for the HOA.
Well, how could you do it if it's not your property?
That's with permission from the owner that owns the
Okay.
lot.
One of the questions I have, and I have the folks who brought these photographs in of the downstream.
Yes.
Again, this is what we're trying to look at to prevent from happening. But by the same token, I would like to ask, and I'm not picking on you, but do you know when the last time that this pond was maintenance?
Not since we've lived here, no.
Pardon?
It's privately owned. It's not owned by the Lock Haven people that
It's
live
not,
around.
this is not a detention pond, this is a pond.
It is correct.
A lake,
Okay, so it's
small lake.
required, it's not subject, it's not subject to things, okay.
Also not.
Rusty, I know a little bit of history about that pond. If I talk about it now or after the meeting, but it's been a big issue in that dam was they used to drive across it, but
Still do.
My concern is, as always, is when we.
well, when you go on the lake, I'm not going to come and get you because that is a privately owned lake, privately owned road across there. And if the public is driving across it, at your own risk.
Yeah, but that's outside of our discussion.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Could I make one other?
My concern with this is that we turn things over to HOAs, that HOAs have difficulty managing because there's nothing and, there's no one on the board.
Especially stormwater.
And stormwater is a big, it requires a different level.
Yes.
In order to understand what the maintenance actually is.
Right.
Maintenance may not be on a 10-year cycle. It may be on a 6-year cycle. It may be on an 8-year cycle. Depending upon what your rain events, the storm that you've had.
Yes. We're going to have very stringent homeowner association documents, deed restrictions and such that talk about maintenance requirements as it relates to the rain harvesting systems, as it relates to the panel block septic systems, and as it relates to overall site management of stormwater devices. What I just offered was something off-site with permission from this gentleman. And just to comment briefly, sometimes when you do developments, you do what's called a forebay. So a forebay is kind of an upstream detention facility to slow the water down as it comes down into the larger bay. If you look at what we've just described at this gentleman's lot, the 1.99 feet, it's acting like a forebay. Yes, it needs to be cleaned out and maintained so the water flows through. But all it's doing is slowing down the water up to 2 feet in a 100-year storm to let it go through more slowly and dissipate down to converge into Monday's run. Yes, you could take it out with a larger culvert. I guess that's a choice. But why not let it serve its useful purpose within the stream buffers and be a little bit of a slowdown or a detention of some of the water? That's all that is. And if I could go ahead and clarify, you mentioned Joseph earlier. Could I clarify that letter? So Joseph moved here from Florida, just closed on the home next to us. He's actually upstream from us. So we had a great talk and talked about it. Then he went to the mayor's coffee the other evening and basically got confused on what stormwater was and wasn't, and streams and not stream. So he called me back and we talked again and he said, oh, I see. He was supposed to call the mayor back and Bill Dieter.
Is that Joseph P? Yeah. Okay.
Did he call you back?
No, he exchanged an email with me and wanted to know if I could explain it to him. And I responded and said, listen, number one, he addressed it to councilman. I responded to him. I said, listen, I'll be happy to meet with you to explain it as I understand it, but I'm not an engineer. And I thought, then he said, well, when he'd like to do that. And I said, let me know when you're available. And then he never got back to me. So maybe you've answered his question.
And he's a great guy, nice guy. He has a beautiful backyard, but he would have a view of the third pond where the trees are going to come down.
Tom, let me ask you a question about, this is HOA stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I assume that your HOA docs are type boilerplate type stuff, right?
Yes.
What is the percentage of occupied homes when the homeowners take over the HOA? Or the board?
I believe it's 75%, but because this is such an expensive home, high dollar community, it might be a little earlier than 75. We haven't
51?
defined,
Like
we haven't
51?
defined that yet. It's for
1%?
I like to stay in control to the bitter end.
I know you do.
Yeah. And for the reasons we're talking about tonight, for proper oversight. So
Well, you're
we,
still gonna be there if you're building houses.
Yeah.
It just, the sooner the homeowners get to see what the issues are, the sooner they can tackle them. You know, some communities do very late turnover to the owners until they get to the board.
yes,
So, and that creates a problem where the homeowners who get on the board, they don't have a very short window to figure out what's going on in the community.
yes.
You know, and then you guys leave.
We've turned over 27 communities in this region in 30 years. And what we do, we invite homeowners to be on the board with us while it's still developer controlled early on, so they can understand and learn about the association. And then you generate interest in a community to be on the board or not. You get the folks that are conscientious, but we start early to get the other folks on the board with
Well, and
us.
that's good because it will impact, as you see, stormwater is becoming an HOA issue.
Yes,
They are the ones that are gonna maintain it. So the faster you can get them up to speed on that, the better it's gonna be for us, because they'll be able to handle their problems and they won't come to the town.
absolutely.
I have a quick question on your pictures. They're really great. They're sad, but they're really great. And that was from,
Well, let's let her, since we're streaming, can you speak at the mic as well? Hate to call you
yeah,
back.
yeah. I know this was from 2020, and I don't know whether that was during the construction period of,
Pulte? Yes.
yeah, whatever it's called, whatever the subdivision is called. Since it's done, I think it's built out and completed. Are these kind of issues still occurring when you get rain, or was this?
Yes, yeah, because the pond is now filled up with silt and debris and stuff. It just doesn't hold as much water. So when we moved there, Pulte didn't exist. And we had a little creek that went in our backyard and then into the pond. And it never even filled up the whole creek. And then as Pulte started developing, more and more stuff got washed down into the creek and then through into the pond. And their BMPs that I have in the picture failed. And part of it, I agree, it took Pulte years and years and years to get fully developed out. It was not a quick subdivision.
That's how a lot of them are, though.
Yeah, the price of stuff went up and the home stopped. The very first year that they did houses, they only did 4. And then the next year was like 13, and then I think I've got it written down. But it took them years and years to get it done. And in the meantime, the BMPs failed. They didn't come in and do anything about them.
Okay,
And
so
so-
there are BMPs on that property.
There
They-
had been initially, but
Yeah.
then they just deteriorated and they didn't do anything about it. So stuff got washed down the creek into
Okay.
the pond. And so that last picture of our backyard, every time we get an inch and a half or more, that's our backyard because it can't flow into the pond.
The swamp area there?
Yeah, that's our
That's your
backyard. We'd have a lower section. Our house is higher,
Right.
but that's the lower section.
Is that, do you know whether or not that's floodplain or anything? or
It is
that-
not floodplain.
Okay, all right.
So don't show that around or it might become a floodplain. Because it
Okay.
is like that now every rain,
But you're
pretty
wanting to
much.
stress the downstream impacts of
Yeah.
the
Yes.
development
No,
will bring
yeah,
to
and this is.
Yes.
it's-
current residents
yeah.
downstream.
Yes, and
And
what
that-
it can do to ponds downstream.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
So who owns this pond or whatever this mess is here?
That, what's his name? Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's,
a private.
okay,
on a part.
the road you're talking about, the Haven Road, it's Hidden Haven. It's the house on the right. It's the only one on the right. He's the one, he owns the dam and he owns the pond, is
Oh,
what we've been
that's
told.
the Heather and Adam that sent us the email this afternoon, correct? Lauren.
That's 210 Hidden,
Yeah,
That-
they,
this house right here.
Paul Johnson used to own it. It's the red house on the pond. Then he had sold it and that guy owns it now.
they sent an email this afternoon in opposition to.
They own the dam
Downstream.
and the pond.
So,
Tammy,
I
help
mean,
me with the-
Does the town, does the town have a provision to make sure this is maintained? Or is this because it's on private property, it's just not our concern?
I think this is what
We're-
Nancy was going to talk about.
It's okay.
Yeah,
We're diverting. It's already way past
We're-
8:30
we're-
now.
we're the baseline. Zoning's the baseline of standards. HOAs usually increase those standards. But at least my personal opinion of what the town's role and what the town's role isn't is, private property is private property. Those are your rights.
Could I clarify something from what she just shared? So one of the major differences, and I think it's important to point this out, some of the developments, maybe the one that you're referring to that was done by another developer years ago, they mass graded the site and created these pads and then didn't build on those pads for a number of years. Our site is going to be 36 natural lots, no development on them, nothing on them until a homeowner identifies it. We go site place their home. All we're doing is the streets and these valley ditches, and we're going to stabilize it with grass. We're going to put in the level spreaders up front. We're not clearing lots or doing any kind of pad development. That's a big distinction and a big difference with some of the erosion that was talked about. So.
Well, I'm going to try to bring this home. I don't know that we could vote, in my opinion, and recommend anything without knowing where this homeowner stands with you on if he will allow you on his property or what he even thinks about this on his property. Unless y'all have another opinion.
No, I kind of feel the planning board, we've been kind of not kicking this thing down the road, but struggling to bring it to closure. So I'm glad you took that step. My opinion is, I think you need, and I hate to delay you again, Tom, but I think you need to have a discussion with the person there on Hidden Haven Lane Road Trail, whatever it is, regarding that.
Bill, what
that
do you think
issue.
about having a quote conditional approval that, because I don't know when the town council will take this up, but between now and the time the town council takes it up, if we would say approval condition, if he has talked to the homeowner and they have come to some sort of agreement, would you be okay with that?
Normally I would, but because this is such a hot issue in the town, and when we say an agreement, what's the agreement?
Well, I mean, I think
And,
that
you know,
the
it's
property
just-
owners and the developer would
Yeah,
come to that, and I'm sure that there would be attorneys involved, but
I'd like to get things nailed down. Only
but again,
because-
we're not we are the recommending board. We're not, or the advisory
I
board.
know.
We're not the decision
Yeah.
makers. And I am
Agree.
confident that the town council will go over this and over this. And I feel like that they will come to the right conclusion on it.
Well, would you like to make a motion?
Well, I'm not sure that I understand exactly what I need to say on this. You might need to prompt me on this, that we are asking for a variance or a
Condition.
amendment, condition, what is it? An amendment?
Amendment to the conditional zoning.
Okay, I didn't really want to do that. I'm asking for a variance maybe, and now we have to have a whole nother hearing? Is that ill?
You'll have to have a hearing anyway because it's an amendment to the conditional zoning ordinance that was approved for his development.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
yes,
What
please.
was staff's recommendation for this?
So staff's recommendation at the previous meeting, I think which 2 months ago, is we needed more information. And so that information was provided. My staff recommendation a week ago is that we also still needed more information. And I was not comfortable making a firm staff decision. Now that we've received that email memorandum from our town engineer over the weekend, which provided 2 solid, recommendations for a condition, I'm comfortable approving this. With that said, my overall preference is to not ask for any waivers, variances. My personal preference and professional preference is everybody sticks to the rules. But if you are to vary from the rules, be very specific on what that alternative is and what those conditions are. And so I think our engineers and both parties' engineers have spoken at length today on what some of those mitigation measures could be. If you list those as conditions, staff could support that, at least moving it to town council.
Is that something that you can, I mean, we're talking about 30 days is the next meeting, right? For the planning
Well,
board?
they wouldn't make
30
it
days for
tomorrow.
planning board.
Huh?
Yeah, 30 days.
It's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks for the town council.
You wouldn't come back to us. We approve it with a condition.
Well, I know, I don't want to approve, say we don't approve.
We
want more
recommend
info.
approval with this condition.
And you get that info to us.
Wouldn't be to council.
No, that, they'll have that information when it goes to council. And then we could recommend, correct me if I'm wrong here, Greg, we could make a motion to recommend approval to the council with this,
1 and 2 from Labella.
yeah. And then that can be voted on. That information would then be there when it gets to the council next month. And then the council can say yay or nay, or they could take whatever other action.
Yes, you could.
Did I summarize that?
Yes, yeah. It would,
What
if
he
you
said.
were to take
What
action
he
on this
said.
and recommend approval, you would have those conditions put in place. Those can be further implemented in time for the next public hearing of town council. And again, you talked about what staff's kind of preferred measures here are. The 1 and 2 from our town engineer, I would certainly institute. And I think the third that we've discussed at length, the impacted private property owner, I would explain that as a condition as well.
What about this pipe that we want to do anything with this? Do you have to do anything
That's
with
when,
the pipe?
That's on the
that's when he
private
was
property
talking
owners.
about.
Okay.
So that would be them.
So you
And
got
then
one,
the specs on the level spreader?
1, 2, and 3. I think that's pretty much standard engineering stuff.
So
Have
I'm,
at it, Nancy.
I'm going to make a motion that we recommend that we implement the request by the developer to amend the UDO to allow his development to go forward with the following conditions. The first 2 are on, oh, here they are. Thank you. Development needs to send a letter to each property owner notifying them of the charges, inflows, and WSEs that affect their property. And the developer needs to register their engineer to evaluate the Hidden Valley Trail, the 3-foot RCP. This increases a runoff. And the private property owner would be, and the developer, the private property owner of lot number, someone help me there, 20 what? 210?
Whoever owns where that culvert comes through.
Okay, well, I want to be a little more specific, but whatever that number is, and the developer of Beckingham, oh, okay, here it is.
Parcel number.
Parcel number
Perfect.
06-153-053. Come to an agreement, a legal agreement in writing on how that will be maintained. That's my motion. Did I get that? Oh, here it is. This is mine.
I got another question, I'm sorry.
Well, that's the motion, we're discussing the motion now,
Yeah.
so go ahead.
So we amend the UDO. Well, we're not amending it, right?
No, you
We're
would.
just recommending to the council, right?
So as a staff report for a development project, any subdivision that comes before you, there's a section of the report that says this development meets all standards of the UDO. In this case, we can't say that anymore. We can't say that this development would meet all standards of the UDO. We would say that this development meets all standards of the UDO, but one. In lieu of that standard, they are going to implement X, Y, and Z. And it would be literally
One, two,
an
and three.
ordinance,
Specific, is it
Zoning amendment.
specific to this?
Just what she mentioned.
It would be
Yeah.
specific to this.
So
Yeah, we have- we
future
have-
petitioners could not say, hey, okay.
It
No,
would be
it says it's
specific to the site
conditional-
plan and ordinance.
It's conditional zoning, so we can put the conditions on it.
It's just here.
So we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
I don't know.
5-1, correct? Not all opposed.
I'm opposed.
So 5-1 in favor of the recommendation. And Tom, I about had you going sideways. I'm sorry.
Did you not vote?
I'm against what we're, I'm against what we're doing right
Just
here
the
tonight.
motion.
All right,
Thank you all.
motion passed. Thank y'all for your time.
Do we need to take a little break? People need bathroom breaks?
All right, does anybody need a bathroom break?
I got my leg back.
Try to get K-Dub home too. How do we want to go about this? Can we,
Oh, I can't reach him. I have to go.
I feel like we're gonna be talking forever.
Yeah, we have.
Can we make a motion to swap up to get K-Dub out?
You mean to?
Motion to amend the agenda
For the code of ethics?
Oh, you want to shift that around?
to shift code of ethics.
Yeah. The other ones are shoe-ins, I feel like. Motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. So I wanted to bring up this code of ethics and kind of spell out, I had kind of sent an email early when I became chair. I want to make sure now that I'm sitting in this chair that two things. One thing, that we're acting professionally, objectively, and ordinance-based. I want us to stay out of the political rhetoric, the copy and paste crews back and forths where we don't get in their social media web of entanglement or anything. And also like to clearly state too, that going into meetings that are contentious, that our public has a obligation to a behavior as well, to us, and the sign raising and the kind of visceral attacks that we can see. We wanted to go ahead and set the tone straight. We're not going to deal with it, and kind of conduct a professional meeting. That being said, I know you are going to have pointed things to say. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I was hoping to be able to add something, and I've got K-Dub here to tell me if I'm even legally allowed to force or say, but I would like for us as a board to leave everything at this table. When we come to talk, we talk here, we present it here objectively, UDO bound. And then if we have personal or stuff, we can share but still be objective, instead of it leaving this table and then maybe our personal opinion gets out and gets misconstrued. Even with the best intentions, I feel like crew A or crew B can spin it, and not on social media, so I can only imagine the webs that they can spin. But I would like for us as a board to just keep it here. And if we've got it, I think KD had mentioned something earlier about how Rusty opposed one thing in December, but still gave his opinion that he didn't like it, but he was still and stated he was objective because it hit the ordinance. I feel like that suits us better with the town and all the rhetoric running through. So I wanted to get anybody's opinions on adding some verbiage to our code of conduct, code of ethics. And I've got something written. I mean, it's pretty harsh, but would like to see what everybody's thoughts were. And
I'm all in favor of it as long as it's not 5 to 10 in the big house.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
okay, I'll let you read that, but I have some.
well, go ahead before I read it. Let's just.
Okay,
tear it
well,
out.
I keep thinking about what Darcy said at the retreat. I'm gonna call it workshop retreat. She talked about how she was getting a lot of emails, she said, and it was misinformation. And her question was, how do they not have the same information that I have? Because everything they're saying is incorrect. So my question is, if we're just going to talk here and we're not allowed to make a comment at a either a town council meeting or at a public hearing,
Social
or
media,
I don't do social media, sorry.
news,
So-
newspaper,
Yeah,
Fresh
so
Market stand.
then how, and when we are misquoted or things are said that we know are inaccurate, what is the avenue that we use If you're going to say that we only speak at this table during our council comments or board comments, excuse me, what's the avenue of how we handle that?
The meeting minutes themselves,
I'm sorry, what?
the meeting minutes themselves. These meetings are minuted, they're recorded now.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a way, yeah, there is, I always tell my coaches, it's the difference between truth and fact. Truth being a philosophical perspective and fact being fact.
So what we're saying is that your neighbor comes over, you're having a couple beers, and it gets into a conversation, you just shut it down. Is that?
That's not pretty much what I'm saying is I just don't want us looking like we wear two hats here and then go amongst the crew A, crew B, crew C and say the things that rear up the whole train.
What's crew A, crew B, crew C? I
The
don't.
copy and paste crew. You'll learn quick enough.
Oh, he knows. He's been away long.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
But so
Just sticking to like facts. Like we can
Yes.
answer.
yeah, and I'm not
We
saying
can
you can't have your
answer.
own
Like,
opinion.
this is what's
But
said. What's said.
if it's here, it can't be misconstrued out in the public with something and it looks like we're wearing two hats. Because we said it here, it was all here. And I mean this in the best way, but we have two former mayors that if they say something out of here, can't help, and former council members, that to become political. I would rather the elected officials keep the smoke, Darcy keep the emails, let them police the misinformation from their fact. We kind of keep our board objective and not fall.
Okay, I have a question for you. I was called out on social media and also in person about that I had a conversation with a private citizen. And that conversation I had was because she sent me an email, a very long, lengthy email, well written, spent a lot of time on it. And I'm thinking, this deserves more than a thank you for your comments. So I invited her. I said, would you be interested in sitting down and talking about this? And she said, I'd be delighted. So in what I'd heard in the past, in compliance with that policy, I asked another board member here to meet with me here at the town hall, coordinated with the town hall folks, and invited her. And so my question is that right or wrong?
I have no issue with that. I would recommend that we do that with someone present and staff present, and I don't see an issue with that.
But when you get slammed for doing that, how do we get across to the public that that is okay?
I didn't know, or so you're asking for whose role is it to get to the public that someone's okay to do this? Or
What-
I mean,
what is our
I think
role?
when you get slammed for it, just my opinion, you ignore it. Okay, that's life in, I'll say politics. You know, in
But-
my opinion, we should not be posting on social media.
I
We
don't do
should
social
not
media.
be giving interviews like for the newspaper, the telephone station. That's the elected officials' role.
Yes.
You know, and you direct it there. We have our comments here. If someone calls like that, Mr.
Yep.
P, Joseph P, and I said, if you want to meet, I was going to meet with him just to, hey, here's how I understand it. I'm not taking a side one way or the other. And we didn't meet. I don't see anything wrong with that.
No,
But
and some residents have expertise that may
Yeah.
align with
Yeah,
us
yeah.
talking to them about a project.
and then if someone slams you, you can say, well, wait a minute, you met with Joseph P and you were talking this and that, you know, you're a, I don't know, a jerk or whatever. I said, fine.
So is there a problem? I mean, it seems like we're making a fix for something that isn't even an issue.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I think the
So it's not an
problem.
issue, why are we trying? to
I
fix
think the problem is if we're doing posts on social media or interviews to
it? Again,
the press,
are we doing that?
I think it's occurred.
It has occurred. We had definitely got the emails. And,
Yeah.
and I think from our standpoint, if we had it here at the table, left at the table, it doesn't look like we're wearing two hats. It's set at the table and kind of conduct our meetings. We don't have as much of a,
I mean, I used to.
Wait, so are we talking email or are we talking social media? Because if somebody emails me as a planning board member and either says something incorrect or asks a question, am I not supposed to respond? Am I always supposed to acknowledge that, or?
Yes, no, what I'm saying. No, my wording is this, basically.
Okay.
The planning board members shall refrain from publicly commenting, discussing, or expressing opinions about pending or potential projects outside of duly noticed planning board meetings. This includes refraining from making public comments through social media, news media, or in any public forum. Such communication shall occur only during official meetings where all discussions are part of public record. This standard ensures transparency, preserves the integrity of the review process, and protects the fairness of the proceedings for applicants, citizens, and fellow board members alike. I feel like if again, best intentions of saying things can be misconstrued from the developer side, from the resident side, from even a planning board member side.
So again, I'm not on social media. Nancy's not on social media. You're not on social media. So if the board is on social media, then if we don't have a problem with this, why are we trying to fix a non-problem?
Well,
I'm on
because
social
other
media. I feel
people,
like, is it me?
no,
What did I do?
that, it's not that, here's the problem. Everyone else is on social media
Well,
and they're putting out
I'll give you,
wrong information.
I'll give you an example,
It's
Scott.
fine, but if we're not,
I know,
why
but
are we policing ourselves for something
I'm,
we're not?
So
well,
then
I'm
this-
not active on social media, but I used to be an administrator, then later on a moderator on Preserve Weddington. And when I got on the planning board, I was saying, remove me as a moderator, remove me as an administrator. I'll read posts that are out there, but I don't respond and I don't weigh in. Someone might ask a question, is the planning board meeting at 7:00? And I might just say yes. But that,
And if it's not really a problem and we're policing ourselves, then it kind of feels like it's a shoe in that everybody's good to check.
Well, I did have a question about, we can't make any public comments, even like at a town council meeting, we can't come up and make during public comments, we can't say anything.
I don't think we should, but that's me.
That's me, and that's why I wanted her here to say, am I legally able to tell you that I don't want that happening?
It's not illegal, but there are very strong reasons not to, and process reasons not to. You all have a very strong voice in the position you sit, and independence is very important to the process. And when you are doing a public comment, there can be an appearance of I like it or I don't like it. And that is an impression the planning board has already spoken. And as a member, the ability for you to sit up here and make these decisions, what you're giving up is the ability to talk on your own, against or for what the planning board has already done. And again, not illegal, but very best practices that it doesn't happen because the
I disagree with
independence
that.
of the board itself is more important than any one of yours individual rights to go speak at it.
Well, I have made comments at a public hearing that identify myself as a planning board member, but I'm not speaking on behalf of the board. I'm speaking on behalf as a citizen. And part of it was just to ask further questions about, I'll just say the Deal Lake thing. Everybody's talking about the Eagles, gotta say the Eagles. I'm thinking, well, no one has said a thing about the airport.
Just
Can
let it
someone
go.
ask a
Let
question
it-
about that?
Let it go. Let it go.
No, I mean, if you're talking about that, it's, again, they're birds, they're not rabbits. We're trying to
Okay, yeah.
do this ground stuff. It's air it's air restriction. So it was a legitimate question I felt on my behalf. And I was concerned about it and no one seemed to be addressing it. And so I wanted to bring it up at the meeting. Wasn't trying to be mean or blame anybody for anything. I just want to say, hey. And oh, by the way, there is Charlotte Helicopters does operate out of there. And I would think that would be something that would need to be considered.
Well, again, that was why I wanted to bring this up, to make sure it's not an unreasonable ask that we keep our board and kind of everything at the table versus.
Right, and I think you shouldn't have a perceived bias on anything that comes across the board. Anything that comes across the table here, you should just, use the rule-based.
Yeah, I think if you're going to serve on the planning board, there's certain things you're willing to give up. Legally, you don't have to, but I think just optics and everything else, and just to keep from muddying stuff up.
That sounds odd because when I've heard you say in a public place that you don't like Toll Brothers. So that says to me that was a little biased.
I don't know if I don't think I said anything on social media.
No, you
or
didn't say
I
it on
said
social media. It was an in-person meeting. So, yeah, I feel like that. And oh, by the way, I'm not the only target here. This whole board, the staff, everybody is being slammed, and I'm not the type of person who sits back and takes that.
well, maybe you should learn to be. I mean, I learned. I'm being a little blunt here, but
Again, I'm
When people are disrespectful to my colleagues, to staff, to our mayor, I'm not going to let that stand. I'm sorry.
well, that's not going to happen. That's what I'm saying. We're going to set the tone with our attendees and us that this is how it's going to roll. Not going to happen. They're not going to come in here and they're not going to do the shenanigans that we've seen with the total disrespect to other residents in Weddington. We're going to address that as well. But as far as us coming together and uniting for saying, hey, we're going to keep it here, we're going to keep it at the table and be planning board members, we kind of have to maybe separate the resident part of it, and not wearing the two hats. Be objective, kind of say it's here at the table. I mean, is anybody else have any weigh in on this? What do we think?
So we would never have, to Nancy's point, we would never have any recourse if somebody took something that came out of this body and started speaking at a council meeting and we were there observing, we wouldn't have any recourse to correct that because we're not allowed to speak at a council meeting.
Correct what, per se?
Whatever they had incorrect about, I mean.
so if someone speaks at a council meeting and says, the planning board or the council is not listening to us, we need to have a 660-foot protective buffer for the eagles. Well, that's there. It's in there. So, I mean, I'm thinking, well, there's a resident
And to Rusty's point, council has the meetings.
that's not paying attention. If council wants to make something on that, but that's not our role. Yeah, the person's wrong, but
Yeah, I don't know why. Are you saying we should, again, I'm probably using policing the wrong word. They're good at misinformation, purposely probably. But then you interject it in and you have now kind of, man, we're just stirring that cauldron. And I just feel like if we're not stirring, let them spew misinformation. We know what it was. It was at the table. It's documented in our meetings. There it is.
The rhetoric has gotten, in many cases, with the issues that have come before this planning board, and it's gotten extremely heated. And by commenting, if we're adding to that, that is not a position we should be taking on this board. We should be looking to do exactly the opposite and diffuse this and keep it at a rational conversation level.
So providing the correct information is not diffusing the situation?
That's my point.
Correct information.
That would be us if we speak at a meeting.
But in that forum, it is doing more to just exacerbate the situation and escalate the conflict.
In all forms,
I'm sorry, Scott, in my opinion, that is not doing our job as a board. We should not be escalating these things. We should be trying to bring them to closure.
But
I agree, but I can tell you for a fact that the conversation that Nancy and I had with the one resident, which would not have been affected by this, was specifically helpful because she had all of what she was asking was incorrect. And we had an opportunity to correct that.
Yeah.
And she took it back and she was going to go to all of the groups that she belongs to provide the correct information. So
And we're not trying to address that.
but But if we're doing that, regardless of how that happens, whether it be, two of us sitting down with a resident, or whether it be two of us going to, their tea time, if we're providing correct information to the residents to then disperse that further out to calm the situation, wouldn't that be kind of what we're looking to do?
That is not what we're trying to address here.
What are we trying to address? My
so
question was,
again,
what avenue do we
I'm
have?
talking- we're
Confused
talking-
then.
You're talking about having a conversation one-on-one with an individual.
Or to a group.
What we're talking, what Chris is addressing here is the public forums in which we're doing this, whether that's a town council meeting, whether that is a social media blog, regarding those are things. When I go to these on-site hearings, public hearings for these things, I've had this question asked me several times. What do you think? I tell them, I'm not here to tell you what I think. I'm here to listen to what you have to say. And that's what I think our function as a board should be in the public forum. We're here to collect that information, to figure out what our residents want. And to try to.
Yeah, but are we even here for that though?
I'll just say this, that it's very unusual, talking to the planning board members, that is not normal. The response, if somebody calls you, is you need to call the mayor, or these are the elected officials are the spokespeople for the town. So, and they can prepare them for the meetings, but it is not normal that planning board members are having one-on-ones with citizens. That is not a normal thing I've ever seen in my 100 years doing this. So,
Never heard of such a thing.
And I think it just gets too political.
What about- What about, like going to the site with the builder, like this Beckingham? Is that something that,
sure, does that you all?
yeah, or one of us at a time?
Yeah, you can't do a quorum,
Right.
but yeah, you all are in conditional zoning, you are allowed to go gather information that helps you make decisions sitting at this board.
And I think it helps, again, you
Better
can go one at
decision
a
making,
time.
yeah.
I think it helps to have two of us to at least
Yep.
have a second set of eyes seeing things as you go to kind of team up. Plus, and then it also, if the developer or someone wants to say something that misconstrued what you've said, you've had a second set of, to just,
But sometimes your schedules don't match up.
I agree. And I'm not saying this every time, but I think it would just be good practice if we've
I agree.
tried to tandem that and not get caught.
We can go 3 with our board.
Yes. Good.
Or
And,
2 council people and a planning board person. That's not a quorum.
well, I think Mr. Waters tried to take even President Trump for a ride out there to see the trees. So he was working hard to create an envoy. But yeah, I again just want to bring it up so we know moving forward how we need to kind of act and see how y'all, again, we're going to take it, agree, disagree. So I want to talk about it and see if it was something we could add as a recommendation, because we would recommend that to council to add to our thing, right? We don't get to add it, correct? But make a recommendation to change the code of conduct or the ethics to add that part. And it's legal, right?
Yeah, y'all can set your own ethical.
Cool.
And specifically, what is it again?
It's all, the goal is that this board retains a independence and non-bias in everybody's comment.
UDO, land use,
Yeah.
zoning, planning
Well,
issues.
And judgment and skill sets, like go kids will apply everything you are, and information that you gathered for the top and additional zoning. But again, it's the independence of you when you're making a decision that has to stay level. And there are opportunities for that to go to low bias one way or the other when you're not speaking, when you're talking about a particular project with, in a public setting that can be construed differently. Again, not illegal, but this is just a way to keep this board as clean and unbiased as it can.
Okay, so what you're saying is that when we get slammed in person or at a meeting or whatever, that our town council is going to back us up?
I'm not, no.
That because-
Slammed,
Yeah, because
if you get slammed, then, if somebody calls you a name or accuses you of something, have at it. That's not about a project. You know, that's about your personal integrity. It's talking about when you're talking about a project. So that's what I'm most focused on.
That's what I was agreeing.
It's when.
So when someone calls you a liar, you can respond back to that? Okay.
I've also brought up a thing I guess we would check with Officer Wren, because he's going to be our main. I know we got, the answer is yes. Perfect. I agree. Appreciate it. Now, so what we would like to do at the start of meetings, right before like public comment, I'd have a statement I would like to say at the time that all attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful and orderly manner. Disruptive behavior, personal attacks, shouting, or interruptions are prohibited. Chair reserves the right to issue warnings or remove individuals who fail to comply with these rules. But that said, then can I say that's your warning? Next one is he's taking you outside. No.
It has to be directed to an individual, the person who's actually causing the disturbance. And so you have to give a warning then, tell them to stop or sit down. If they don't, then you kick them out. And you say, I want you to leave. Sure. And they don't leave. They don't leave, then sure.
Don't they have verbiage at the council meeting? Can't you just use that same verbiage?
Yeah, I was like, just to set it straight from, I still have a statement to say we're going to do that, but I was hoping I didn't have to give actual warnings. We
The
could
rules
just,
that you have to give a warning.
I'll get you that information.
perfect. Then that way they're also held to an obligation of, because when public speaking, if someone opposes, we've all seen that. We just keep it good, professional, and orderly. Steve, that top paragraph, you want to read it, was what I was, again, changed the language, but the gist of what I was getting at with,
So this would mean at a public hearing for a project, you would not want planning board members to speak for or against it.
or social media,
Right.
or is it, because they're getting the news crews to now show up, and the news crews is almost wanting to bait you to fall into the trap.
They're lying.
Um,
The news is lying.
I know, they're lying. They're not,
But I'm not here
they're
to
not.
police their lying.
I know, but
I
it just,
can't- they're
it
going-
upsets me terribly that the cut and paste people, as you say, get on the news and it gets blasted all over the region and they're making the town of Weddington look bad. And that offends me. And somebody should have the right to say, excuse me, you're not getting the whole story. I'm sorry, what? Yeah. I can't.
I don't know if that's what it is. I think she said it. You can defend yourself. If someone attacks you, you can defend yourself. But don't stand up and advocate for a project either way, at the council meeting, at a public meeting.
Right.
Or
on social media.
Or on social media.
To maintain your.
Unfortunately, that's just the part of being a planning board member. You just gotta, not do that.
The rest of it, you just need a thick skin.
I have to read that. I hope that's what this reads like.
That's what it sounds like to me. Don't advocate either way, for or against, at a council meeting, at a public hearing, or, anywhere other than this table.
But like we can, like sticking to the facts, say something. For example, I on social media recently.
Jake's saying we can't even.
TV or newspaper interviews.
No, I'm not doing interviews. On social media, someone said the town of Weddington is expanding their commercial. And I said, that is not true. So like, I mean.
That's not a project.
I think that's okay.
Right. But I didn't get into anything. I just said,
Right.
that's not true. Like,
Yeah, but that.
I feel like that is.
Yeah, but, right, that's right. But you didn't say.
Objective.
But you didn't say, no, they're not, but I wish they were.
Right.
Right?
So like.
Or even that, it's still, I'm more about what matters that come across this board, stay at this board. And after we have made our decisions or during their application, we just keep it here on this table, public minutes.
Yeah, but we're gonna see an expanded commercial, I'm pretty sure, so, I mean.
Say what you want about that. I can, what's that got to do with us? That has no project. That is not you going on and saying that Deal Lake about Eagles, or let's just say that Beckingham and the flooding is going to be a problem. They'd be on the news tomorrow morning. But then we all of a sudden have to defend ourselves and get caught in that web of how our opinion went. It was all stated here. It was all in minutes. Okay, we can leave it here. We don't have to talk about the Beckingham outside of our table with.
So if we're not talking about a specific project.
Correct. Correct. That's coming at our board. That's either up for the board or we have already approved and it's in council's hands now, or I think after council, then I don't know that it even matters at that point after they've went yay or nay. But till
Well,
it
be
kind of
careful now.
reaches the process.
Tom came back after he was already approved, so it may.
Well, and that's true. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Again,
So if Stratford HOA said, we'd like to have a couple of council members and a couple of planning board members come to an HOA meeting in reference to railroad extension, is that, we can't do that?
I'm going to say from the chair of the planning board, that the planning board does not need to attend that. That's perfectly elected officials. That's their purview. What are we going to add to that? Nothing's coming across our table to even acknowledge.
For that particular project, there's a lot of historical knowledge about that from several people at this table.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think we gain anything by beating that dead horse. You know, if the mayor wants to address something on Ray Road, as, you know, that one example came up on Weddington Hill, that's the mayor. You know, if they don't like him, throw his ass.
Or their council representative for that area. That's who I feel like needs to take the swing. We need to stay UDO bound, land use bound. Matters on our board, stay at our board and stay at the table as public record.
We should be doing decisions based off of our UDO and like subjectively anyway, right? Like,
Objectively.
yeah. Objectively, yes.
Correct.
But like, we're not listening to people. I mean, you know, we are, but like, it's not our job to say you don't like it, so we don't like it. It's, does it follow this plan or not? That's our job, right?
But you take the input and take the facts where they lay, you hear what they say. Again, we're an advisory board.
This is kind of why I'm not really impressed with having the public comments in our meeting, because if we're not supposed to take those into consideration.
We are supposed to.
You do take them into
But you can weigh what's facts and what's not facts. If they're going to get up here and talk about the deer population, you know real quick that, okay, well, we can't help the deer population because of the neighborhood. What are we going to do about the deer? We're going to relocate them to Nancy's farm? That's
Already there. We're already overcrowded.
I'm
Sorry.
just saying, but some people, there was one guy that with an area plantation that is a septic,
Pump salesman, I think.
was he?
I don't
But
know.
he was
We're still.
one that was super knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable, yeah.
And that guy was worth his 3 minutes to hear actual, and you could tell it wasn't rhetoric. It wasn't the, hey, read this because we've sent this to 200 people.
Cut and paste.
Yes. So it was, so there is some, but we got to weed through that. Sometimes you won't know how far in the weeds you are until you start walking. But again, I just want us to just stay at the table and refrain from getting involved in that on topics that we are addressing or going to be addressed or have addressed.
I agree. I mean, I find that, you know, if people call you a liar or worse, or say something bad about your mama, that kind of stuff, it's like those people don't have, I would call it the emotional intelligence to try to have an argument with. So you just ignore it.
I get that, Bill, but when you have an auditorium full of people and they're all hyped up and they're making all kinds of comments, a lot of them are misinformation. I just feel like that a little bit of correct information, a little bit of educating the public goes a long way. That does diffuse a lot of the situation when people have the right information to operate off of.
Well, then they should contact their district council member or the mayor or the town planner.
They listen to who's loudest though.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
think that we play into that, even if we're right. They're, I think with, it's just about propaganda. It's just about choo-choo, and you get up and say the right thing, no matter how good intentioned it is, it just creates a whirlwind that you think is not great. But then it's a cyclone of crap for everybody that comes from that. So is it, does everybody want me to read this again to see if this even makes sense to make a motion for recommendation to council, or how do we want to? Planning board members shall refrain from publicly commenting, discussing, or expressing opinions about pending or potential projects outside of duly noticed planning board meetings. This includes refraining from making public comments through social media, news media, or in any public forum. Such communications shall occur only during official meetings where all discussions are a part of the public record. This standard ensures transparency, preserves the integrity of the review process, and protects the fairness of proceedings for applicants, citizens, and fellow board members alike. I can pass that around if y'all want to read it.
I'm fine with it. I don't know, do you need a motion or is that just something you pass on?
You all want, if you want to make a motion to ask council to consider that, then that's fine.
I'll make a motion to have council consider that.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining.
Four,
Couldn't
all
help it.
opposed?
Couldn't help it.
So we are 4-2,
And she's a yes.
passed.
Are you allowed to abstain?
You're not. That was,
okay.
that's going to be my next point.
You have to vote.
So we'll add it.
Awesome.
Okay, great.
So it was,
All right.
5-2.
We'll
Was
send
it
it to
5-2?
council.
5-2.
6 no,
Yeah,
because
well,
she's-
Thank you.
abstain is a yes, so I'm the only one. to say.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to say no. I just said that because I want to talk about
Okay, so
abstaining next.
it was.
I'm a no.
4-2.
Scott,
Right.
Nancy, we're next.
Right,
Correct. Correct.
okay.
All right. Thank you for staying late.
Wait, I wanted Karen to, Karen W. for the record, K and W, no.
K-Dub. K-Dub.
Okay, K-Dub. To explain for the record, when a council person may recuse themselves, because I've been told that I should recuse myself from certain things. And it's my understanding that unless you can show a direct financial impact, that you have a duty to vote, whether you're on an elected board or an appointed board. So can you elaborate on the
Yeah,
real?
so under 168-75.
Wait. Microphone, please.
Is this it's getting late and I'd really like to get us through this buildable UDO.
This will be
One second.
Okay.
quick
This will
thing.
not take long. Under 168-75, elected officials are required to vote unless they are legally conflicted and are not allowed to vote. Advisory boards run by the same system in North Carolina. So unless you are officially conflicted, you are ethically bound to vote. The voting rules for planning board are you will have a conflict on a matter before you if you have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact on you personally. You also may have a conflict if a person who is the applicant is a close familial, business, or other associational relationship. And that may also support recusal on the grounds of conflict. Associational relationship does not mean that you've known each other since you grew up. Associational relationship means that it is some transactional relationship that you have with another person. So it could be a boss, I don't know, somebody else somebody that you work with, those kinds of things. And again, the the decision of whether or not you are conflicted is if you believe you can render an unbiased opinion in spite of that conflict or in spite of that relationship.
So the financial part is either, does it go both ways?
Yes. So if somebody has a financial interest in what's before this board, and it can be you, a family
Maybe
member.
lost money interest or a make money interest, right?
Yes. And that's a tough one. And just so there's a scale. So for example, every time that the council votes on a tax rate, they're directly impacted by that vote they make, but so is everybody else in town. So what you look at when you're deciding whether or not there's a financial conflict, say it's something that's going to impact your neighborhood, you and your 100 neighbors, there's probably not a direct conflict for you if you can still remain unbiased. But if it's your next door neighbor who wants to tear their house down and put a commercial building up, that has a direct financial impact on you, and you would have to recuse from that kind of a vote. So it is a scale. It is not a perfect test, but it is something that would have to be analyzed by the board when a board member is asking to recuse.
Got it.
Got it.
Karen D, if you would put the very accurate and elaborate email that we got from Karen W about, I guess it was from the School of Government, FREDA, right, that article, if that could just be added to the record. So for tonight, that would be good.
Thank you.
Sorry, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we get to move on. New business A, discussion and possible recommendation of text amendment 2025-4, section D-917E. Additional specific requirements for conventional residential development or major subdivisions. This one, am I giving to Greg to give a synopsis first? Do we open the gospel to certain page?
I am going to go over this briefly on what it's intended to do, and I will discuss whether you need to take action on that today based on the pretty emotional discussion that y'all had. So the intention of this ordinance is to actually add a new piece of text to the UDO to section D-917. D-917 is basically the rules for development, particularly residential development, but it applies to all development in town. So there's D-917A, which is basically your base standards for if you're doing anything from a shed in your backyard to any type of subdivision. These are the rules that you must follow. D-917B was added for additional specific requirements for conservation development. So these are going to be lots that are smaller. Because you get that trade-off, here are additional rules you have on top of those base rules. D-917C is your rules for non-residential development for your commercial. D-917D is supplemental requirements for certain uses, things like daycares or ball fields or something like that. What we're having with these conditional zoning cases and these subdivisions, we've essentially discouraged conservation development and encouraged conventional type of development. Well, those conventional developments don't have all these rules that conservation developments have. And we're looking to increase the standards of all subdivisions in town. So the planning board subcommittee met on the concept of A, increasing our standards for new future residential development, and B, determining who they apply to in terms of, buildable land. How do we analyze the land and make sure that, sites are designed correctly the first time? We've talked about, getting all the information up front. We all agree that we want the information up front, not only to the town council, but the planning board, so we can make informed decisions. The subcommittee determined that we should create kind of a new category, this D-917E, for these new subdivisions that come in the town, rather than put them in D-917A, because those rules apply to everybody. For example, if we were to say, you need to set aside all floodplain as common open space and you can't build on that. Well, how does that affect a landowner who has 2 acres? You're talking about regulatory takings, physical takings of land, devaluing of land. And so rather than having these new tighter rules apply to everybody, regardless of development type, we wanted to create a new zoning category that applied specifically just to new subdivisions and new major forms of development. That's found in your packet. We also did some pretty significant tweaks to the base standards as a whole in the D917A, the major one being open space. To meet the goals of the town, to have, buffers around development, to have the 100-foot thoroughfare buffer be in common open space, to make sure that we have environmentally sensitive lands put on the directive of the HOA rather than being on private property where they could be impacted later by building a pool or what have you. The subcommittee recommended increasing the minimum amount of open space for any development from 10% to 20%. That's going to significantly impact any future subdivision going forward. That's a big change. Our standard was 10. Union County basically is at 15% open space right now. We would again have a higher standard than even the county to have that 20%. That would apply townwide. And then just the rules for D917E are things that are taken roughly from the conservation subdivision section, but tweaked to apply to these 1 acre lot developments, things like additional setback requirements or ensuring that we have, a good view shed on the thoroughfare, total acreage that it could apply to, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't have major subdivisions on 2 acres or something crazy. Not that that's applicable. All that said, there's a 99.9% chance that this code text amendment is not going to the town council next month. Town council has a pretty big case in front of them already. So you have the information in front of you. You understand the intention of what the subcommittee is trying to do. Whether we vote to recommend this tonight or not is not going to town council next month. So you've got time to sit on this if you think that's necessary. With that, I'm available for questions.
If it's okay with the board, I'd really like to, I have a lot of questions about it and we're sort of out of time. Would anyone object to tabling this?
I'm fine staying later, but I know it's getting late for other people. So,
Yeah, but I'm gonna have a lot of questions too, especially about the 20% in R40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 10 parking spaces at that thing. I didn't get that.
And to be honest with you, my packet is not loading, so I can't even read
Yeah.
all this stuff that I want to have questions on.
Yeah. I have trouble with that too.
In that case,
I think-
I'm gonna make a motion that we table this until next month's meeting.
I'll second that.
Yeah, give her time.
Table A and B.
Correct, that's fine.
We got a second. All in favor?
What is A and B?
I think you need to make a motion for both.
Separately.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This will be the motion for A.
And what is A? Is that?
Well, it's B, actually.
Yeah, new business, old A.
Okay.
So I'm making a motion to table A until next month's meeting, give everybody time to review. And coming back with the questions for discussion.
Second that.
All in favor?
I
Unanimous.
Can I make a comment about it though? When the subcommittee meets, I feel like we need more time, a lot of times to review. Like with the tree stuff before, we just got it very quickly.
So you
and-
want a workshop or a,
or just more time for us. It's a lot of information to take in and look at and
Noted.
just
Do we want to make a motion for B to table?
I would like to make a motion that we table new business item, the new business, old item B, now current item C,
Good call.
until our next meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Beautiful. All right, update from Gregory.
There were a few people at the last town council meeting. It was held in the Wayington High School auditorium. That was the primary opportunity for public comment. That was the public hearing for that event. So if anybody and their mother would like to have a comment on that particular topic, they were provided that opportunity in the high school gymnasium. The actual voting of that development, which is now known as Weddington Crossing, is scheduled for May. But the public hearing has taken place for that project that took place in April. That was the only major item discussed. Regular business was conducted. That was a regular hearing of the Weddington Town Council, but the Weddington Crossing public hearing was the primary content.
Awesome. Board member comments. We'll start at the round table with Bill.
Long meeting. See, we've got a couple holdouts who stayed here to the end. Mr. Wilson, I appreciate your analysis. For a layman like me, that meant a lot. Slowly but surely, I think we're making progress on the UDO. And because there's so much coming down the pike, I think time is of the essence that we get our UDO up to snuff. That's it.
No comments.
All right. As always, thank you to staff for all your hard work. I'm glad that we have tabled, quite frankly, the discussion on that because there's more to come with regards to this. And I stumbled across the term sketch plan in there, so we'll be addressing that shortly. But, thank you again for the comments this evening and appreciate everyone that came out.
I know it's getting late and I have a little bit to say, but I think it's important, so I'm going to go with it. And I might get emotional about this. I'm just going to tell you. Yesterday, North Carolina celebrated the 5th annual Wounded Heroes Day, honoring Sergeant Michael Verardo. It was a holiday that was signed into, or recognition, I guess I should say, signed into law about 5 years ago by Governor Cooper. And it was actually sponsored, the bill was sponsored by our Representative David Willis. It was got a unanimous vote on the floor, bipartisan, support from both parties. April 24th is what's referred to as Sergeant Verardo's Alive Day, which means that that was the day that he was catastrophically wounded and pulled off the battlefield in Afghanistan and loaded onto a helicopter bound for Landstuhl Air Base. He was categorized as an E. That's how the medical people triage people. He was categorized as an E, which means death is imminent. 15 years later, over 100 surgeries, lots of physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. He lives here locally in Marvin, about 5 miles from here, with his wife and 3 daughters. He sometimes jokes that he's a dodo, dad of daughters only, in case you didn't know what that meant. And there are over 150,000 wounded veterans that live in North Carolina. So I'm going to leave this with Karen if anyone wants to look at it. It is the Independence Fund, which is Mrs. Verardo, Sarah Verardo, is the CEO of that organization. It's based here out of Charlotte. It's an international or national organization, and it's a great thing to sponsor. But here's the challenge that we received yesterday, and I'm going to pass it on to everyone listening or whoever. I challenge each of us to live a life that is worthy of their sacrifice.
Hit me in the feels.
I know.
Well, it's very personal to me, but still.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing that. Food Truck Fridays start this week. So hopefully we can see some people that care about our town come volunteer and help. I know that people want to help and do stuff, so maybe someone will volunteer. But that's all I got.
I want to thank staff for all their hard work, thank public for participating and being a part of the process. And I want to thank all of the members at the table for what you do and what you bring to the table. And that'll do me.
Awesome. Well, I want to follow that by saying yes. I thank the staff, Planner Greg. I think we still got one of the best doing what we do. I want to thank Bob for coming out and sharing insight and taking time away, knowing you still got to go to work tomorrow. But I do want to say, I do believe that Tom had a point. We do have an unintended consequence of our stormwater in our state and meeting some of our land use goals with the type of developments. So I'm going to recommend that be something the subcommittee brings up as well, to look a little further and bring back with possible recommendations or something for council to look at. I thank the public for staying late. I appreciate it. Again, look forward to the nice weather, summer, and continuing on. Thanks, everyone, board members as well.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourn.